eThekwini officials are urging residents in low-lying areas to move to higher ground. The Weather Service has issued a red level 10 warning for the region. This means disruptive rain and flooding is likely to occur. I'm joined now by Deputy City Manager Musa Gumede. Thank you very much, Mr. Gumede, for your time this evening. First of all, can you give us an update on the situation in eThekwini, where there has already been flooding and whether any infrastructure damage has already taken place?
Good evening. We are unfortunate in that we've just been started correcting some of the damage caused by the last storm, and suddenly we have another storm taking place in the same area. So a lot of of what we had done to temporarily deal with the issues may be washed out, but we'll be able to confirm that in the morning once the rain has subsided. Currently, we are aware of flooding in certain areas, of roads that have been closed. We are also aware of areas like Umdloti, where the water has gushed down into the sea, together with the mud, causing damage to some of the roads in the area. We have sent our people to go and see if we need to evacuate anyone in the area. We also have flats and old age homes which may have been flooded. We are trying to remove some of the people, especially in Tongat, where such has happened. Some of our shelters also flooded. Umlazi is one of them, and we're trying to deal with some of those. Obviously, there are areas which which are low-lying and which were affected in the past, especially the business areas in the Durban South Basin. We have our teams going to ensure that those areas are not badly affected. Currently, we have not had a report of heavy affectation of the factories around, but we have teams on the ground dealing with the issues. We've looked at the canals to see if there's any debris that may cause water to stop flowing and to deal with some of those, and even in the rivers for storm drainage that may be affected, to deal with some of those issues. Currently, we're dealing with things as they come. Unfortunately, it's affecting some of the rehabilitation that we're doing on some of the roads.
Mr. Gumede, in the last round of floods over a month ago, more than 400 people lost their lives. Many more were still missing. Families were traumatized. And I hate to ask this question, but have we seen any more loss of life over the past 24 hours as rains have once again hit KZN?
So far, we have not had a report of any death. Around 4 p.m., we were called into Sianda, an area in the north of Durban, to evacuate people whose house had fallen, and there were two children in the house and an adult, but they were not injured, so we're able to evacuate them out of that structure without any injuries. So we will keep on, putting our ear on the ground just to make sure that where we can evacuate before major damage or injury happens, we do that.
So you have put out a request to people living in low-lying areas to move to higher ground. Can you single out any specific suburbs or areas where that would apply?
We currently are worried about Umdloti. We have seen videos of water gushing into people's houses, towards people's houses, and the road that looks unstable. And we've requested SANDF, who are in Durban at the moment, to assist us there. If there's anyone who requires to be evacuated out of that area. We're also worried about flats in Tongat that may have been flooded, especially where there are elderly people. We have sent our teams there as well to deal with those informal settlements close to rivers. We are also looking out for those. And definitely Umlazi River and the canal next to it was a problem in the last floods, and we're giving an eye to it to make sure that if there's anyone close by, we evacuate as early as possible.
Asking people to move to higher ground is one thing, but not everyone has family members or friends or somewhere to go tonight. If there are people who need to urgently evacuate, is there being provision made for them for temporary housing?
Right now, on the eve of a disaster, you could only use facilities like halls, churches, marquees, but marquees are not ideal, especially if the ground is wet. So those are on standby to accept people if any require such accommodation overnight. We'll then deal with the long-term issues beyond tomorrow.
Of course, it's very difficult in the midst of this storm to say what the damage could be. But have there already been any discussions at higher provincial levels to try and secure more funding? As you've said, some of the remedies that you've already put in place may now be undone, and the budget required for fixes may need to be increased.
Yes, we had meetings during the day, a technical meeting during the day to try and discuss with our colleagues in other departments and other spheres of government and share notes. We then met with our principals, the mayors and the MECs this evening. Just finished a meeting now at 8 o'clock, and I think the MECs are now meeting with the minister nationally to deal with the issues that we've discussed during the day. So we're still collating all our information, and maybe after all these meetings today, maybe the minister will be able to indicate how much this will cost, because all the municipalities along the coast are affected, and more will be affected tomorrow along the coast from King Cetshwayo towards Mkhanyakude. So this is going to affect the whole coastal region of KZN.
We know during the last round of flooding, provision of basic services was disrupted for a number of days. Lots of people left without electricity and water. This amid load shedding that's already problematic. Do you know of any disruptions to electricity and water provision that's happened today?
Electricity, yes, because some of our cables were still exposed from the last disaster, and we're dealing with some of those issues, and therefore this may have made issues even worse. So there are a few areas which were affected, especially in the west. I got a few calls in the west around Pinetown where some people were affected, and hopefully it won't be for long periods of time. But it's not affecting the majority of the people of eThekwini. Water, we will know tomorrow if there's any damage to our pipes. Currently, there are no challenges that we've received around water, except those that we know around Tongat, where they were still dealing with the issues. But we will be able to assess more damage in the morning.
Well, thank you very much for your time. We know that there's a lot of anxiety in the province, and our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone affected.